Welcome to the Women in Leadership Body, Mind, Soul, and Business podcast. I'm Charlie.
And I'm Heather. And together we are working to connect women in leadership and business, empowering each other, improving the health and wellness of our community, body, soul, and mind, connecting to the heart and soul of who we are and what we do.
Welcome to today's episode. I'm so excited for you guys to meet Joanne Edinberg. She talks about food and nutrition and how it makes us feel and all the good things that go into what we think about food. It's pretty cool.
It is really cool. I'm very excited to have you on and share what you're doing with our audience and with us. With us, please share with us.
So, Joanne, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, well, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me. My name is Joanne Edinberg, and I am the founder of Body Wisdom Nutrition. And I help women relax with food, weight, and body image so they can spend their time and energy doing what truly nourishes them. Mm-hmm. And I'm really on a mission to help women end the quest for the perfect diet and the perfect body. I just feel like we have so much to share in the world, and that is not what it is about. Even though I understand why we focus so much attention on it, and we can talk more about that. But yeah, I'm a coach. I'm an eating psychology coach, and I have a 12-week Transform Your Relationship with Food and Your Body program. And I also have a book club. If you're in the Seattle area, it's an in-person book club called Ditch Diet Culture Book Club. And so we read some interesting books on the topic and have some great discussions around all these issues. So yeah, so it's a little bit about me.
Let's talk a minute about diet culture, because I'm not sure all of our listeners might know what that means. So from my understanding, diet culture is this mentality around you have to be skinny to be healthy, or you have to look a certain way to be considered healthy or beautiful or whatever the case may be. And we get in our heads about that. But there's a whole culture of it. It's in our imagery. It's in our commercialism. It's
that constant need to be, oh, it's Monday. I need to start my diet. Like always starting a diet, always on a diet, like limiting yourself. And
yes,
right. I mean, those are all the things we're talking about, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, just the focus on having to look a certain way, like you said, having to eat a certain way to be healthy. And there's lots of myths about that. But I think it's so hard to get out of that because it's so much a part of our everyday life, and all the images that we see, particularly with social media. I mean, I know it's changing some, but there's definitely this striving toward getting to be this perfect weight or this perfect body size or type. And, the reality is we're not all meant to be the same, first of all. We're all unique in many ways, including our size. And, health is much more than those things. In fact, I think there's a huge number of myths about the connection between health and weight, for example. And there's actually lots of research. There's a whole movement and body of research, health at every size, that clearly shows that health and weight are not as directly connected as we've been led to believe. And that many in the medical profession still continue to tell us is the truth. So yeah, there's a lot of issues there, but trying to unravel that and understand why is part of the work that I do. But it's not easy. It's not like simple. It's not a quick fix.
Right.
It's really not, because food is such an integral part of, who we are as people. Our cultures are around food and our gathering and
holidays,
like all of the
everything
things.
Is
food based, right?
Yes, it's not like if you talk about certain habits, for example, that you may or may not, you may want to change some habits. Some are easier than others because there are certain things that you can get rid of completely in your life. And so that makes it a little bit easier, right? But food is ever present. We can't live without food. And it's a good thing. We need food to live, and food is meant to nourish us. So it gets complicated because there's so many, there's both sides of the issue, so to speak.
What's the right kind of food?
But it's great.
What's the
for that
wrong
reason.
kind of food?
And then how badly did you stress yourself out over trying to eat perfectly? Like, there's so many layers.
So many layers.
I always call it being a food Nazi. Like, okay, I'm going to start eating differently. I'm going to have a different plan, but now I'm going to be a food Nazi, and it sucks. Right? Like, I hate that feeling.
Yeah.
That over controlling.
It's kind of that
limited.
It's that flip side of trying to make changes that kind of backfire. This whole idea that some foods are healthy and some foods are unhealthy, good, bad, the judging. I think for me, a lot of my disordered relationship with food, if you want to call it that, began when I got tested for lots of different food allergies. And I changed my diet quite a bit and really saw the benefit of food. And food is medicine. It can make it can have a huge impact on your health and your life. And at that time was when I really started developing these beliefs that this food is good, this food is bad, this food is healthy, this food isn't. And then that lack of trust in my body to even know what I should be eating or not eating, I think really began then. And that whole stress response that you talked about, I mean, that's kind of the foundation of the work that I do, because stress is, when you're in the stress state, your body is in the absolute opposite state of what it needs to be in to be able to digest and metabolize your food, or even to heal. You have to be relaxed to heal. Like, all those physiological processes that happen when you relax are going to give you what you need to be able to use your food properly. And when you're stressed, that all goes away. Like your digestion can literally shut down when you're stressed. So it doesn't matter. You could be eating the healthiest foods in the world, and if you're under stress, not just while you're eating, but like your whole life is in this low level stress response, which many of us are kind of living in that place a lot of the time. It's no wonder that we have so many, challenges around these issues. So, I mean, it's just really important to recognize that and not feel more stressed about it, but, just to kind of just get present, like, what's going on for me right in this moment or in my life, and what are the things what are the stressors in my life? What are the things that help me feel good and happy and nourished and relaxed? How can you bring more of that in and take some of the other things out that you have control over? Obviously, there's some things we don't have control over, but so
that's really cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what you do is you have what does it look like to work with you?
Yeah, well, I mean, unlike, I think, a lot of programs out there that deal with some of these issues, whether it be weight or food issues, or just going to a nutritionist, for example, I don't have an absolute set program. It's very individualized depending on the person that I'm working with, because these issues are very individual, right? So, I mean, we're going to talk about a lot of the things that we were just mentioning. What are the, kind of take a look at what are the stressors in your life, what's going on with your family, with your relationships, with your job, with your environment, and also look at, we look at what you're eating, but that's not my primary focus, really.
Right.
But more, who are you as an eater? What do you figuratively bringing to the table,
Mm-hmm.
what's your history with food and that kind of stuff. When do you eat? Where do you eat? How do you eat? All the psychology of eating.
Mm-hmm.
And each session, sometimes I'll use a book as structure, and we'll talk about those as part of our sessions, and bring in some different practices to try to bring that relaxation response in.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always some homework to do to try to develop these practices, but that's also very individualized. Like, it's not like these are the 10 things we're going to do during our time together. It really depends on the person, because I want
Mm-hmm.
there to be buy-in. Is this
Mm-hmm.
doable for you? Does this make sense for you?
Mm-hmm.
Is this something you want to try to do?
Mm-hmm.
Because what I realized is that when you have these challenges with food related issues, there's usually a lot of judgment and guilt and shame that comes with that. So
Yeah.
adding more things to do that you can fail at actually, just backfires. So it's like, oh, forget this. I can't
No,
even do
it
those 3
doesn't
things that I was
backfire when we
supposed to
do
do.
that. Yeah.
3 more
Mm-hmm.
things.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they're, you know, so I don't know, maybe that's different from what the way that a lot of people approach these issues, because I think there is here's the 3 steps that we're going to do, or the 10 things. And, if that works for you, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the reason why a lot of programs, they work, I think anyone can do anything for a certain period of time,
Mm-hmm.
and the people that can do those forever, that's a really small number of people. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that's true. Unless there's a deeper reason why you're doing the things that you're doing, it's not going to be sustainable. So, I take a little bit more of a long-term approach rather than the quick fix, because, we want to try to make changes that are going to be lasting. And so a lot of it is about, having that understanding of why we do the things we do, like what's the root of the problem,
Mm-hmm.
and, kind of shifting the mindset from the judgment, the guilt, the shame, to just having a curious mindset, like, I wonder why I do that, or I
Mm-hmm.
wonder about this. And just that will bring in that self-compassion, the
Mm-hmm.
acceptance, like, this is where things are at right now.
Yeah, the
And
awareness.
there's nothing wrong with that.
Uh-huh.
Like, yes, exactly. I mean, it's so important to be really aware and present, and just accepting of, like, this is where I'm at right now, and it can be different today, tomorrow, next week. Things change all the time. And just shifting that mindset, I think, is really important to making real transformation. Because just adding more things to feel guilty or ashamed about, or not doing, the failing, that doesn't work.
No, we
It's
don't
not
need to be putting
healthy.
that on ourselves.
Right.
And creating
No.
more stress and more that cycle of I am not enough.
Right.
Right.
And then as we're
Exactly.
working through like generational things too, I was talking with my son about generational things and things that I was passing on to him. And, we've been working through a lot of those things over this last year, especially. We've worked up to this. But he was asking me some of my food traumas as kids. You're fine. I want you to be stopped. But we were talking about it, and we realized the point in time where he started eating more cereal was a point in time when I didn't have food as a kid. And so it was interesting. That was kind of like the response to my food trauma was that he was given more food to eat. I was like, wow. My kid's so smart. So I always like,
you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I cook a lot more than my parents did at home. But I was basically a latchkey kid growing up. So we kind of fended for ourselves, and we ate a lot of Hamburger Helper and things like that. I cannot stand Hamburger Helper now.
Same, but
yeah.
It was a big deal when
It
we were
was a
growing
big
up, though.
deal.
Hamburger helper.
Absolutely.
It was like,
Yes.
wow, you have the cool mom. She made hamburger helper. Now we're like,
And I'm like, I made that myself. What are you talking about?
right.
You know, I feed my kids so differently than I was fed growing up. And I think partially because of the things that I went through as a child, because we didn't have a lot. You know, we were, my mom often has said that she made $25 too much for food stamps.
Mm.
You know, when we were kids.
So it was tight.
It was tight.
Yeah.
It was tight. And so we could only afford certain foods. So having a fresh salad at dinner when I was a kid was like fancy stuff.
Right.
Having a fresh vegetables now with my kids, half of them I grow in my garden, but it's more commonplace. Like having fresh vegetables, it's like the stuff that was like a luxury but is actually good for you when I was a kid is now a staple in my home.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
so interesting.
Right. There's so many levels. Like
So
you
many.
start to get into it. Like I see your eyes getting all excited, right? Like,
yeah. Like what happened? Like this happens a lot with, you know, it can be health issues too. Like whatever your challenges are, I think they happen at a certain time because something is going on then. Like, well, when did this first start happening? You know, oh, well, my mother died, or, you know, I got divorced, or, you know, something big, or I moved across the country. I mean, those kinds of things happening in our lives can have huge impacts, and we don't even realize how much they can affect just our eating, you know.
Right.
Because then your tummy is upset because you're uneasy about what's happening. So then what are you eating? And then if you're eating junk, then you're feeling like junk. And then what do you eat when you feel like junk?
More
junk.
More junk. Why?
Yeah.
Because we feel like junk. When we feel like junk, we want junk. And it's it keeps going. So you know, but I get just like a lot of the things that we talk about, it all begins with the awareness of there's something going on there. And even if you don't have the skills or the tools to work through that yourself, there's people you can lean on, like Joanne. You know, she's fabulous, and you know, you can connect with her and talk with her and try to figure out some of those things for yourself. You know?
like that your programs are individualized because it's really not a cookie cutter, because what diet is diet appropriate, not dieting, but what you're eating is appropriate for your body might not be appropriate for my body because of what's going, you know, so because we're all so individualized.
Well, and our bodies are just built differently.
Right.
I'm a foot taller than you. So
no, we can take the exact same steps and she's like a mile ahead of me, right? Like I'm like running to keep up with her. Like I can't keep that pace up. So you know,
our bodies are different on the outside. They're different on the inside, and how they function and how they work and how they do things is very individualized to our very own DNA. And our stories, our experiences and things like that. And it's nice that we can take both pieces and figure this diet piece, this healthy eating piece out together with you, Joanne. So thank you for bringing this service to the community. I think it's really, really important.
Thank you for letting me share with you, because it's obviously what I'm passionate about, and that's what I love about the work is it is individualized. Everyone's unique, and everyone has their own story, and you know, so it makes it interesting, and that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. Now, forgot to ask you earlier, but do you have any upcoming events, trainings, or things like that you would like to?
I just well, I have my book club, and but I know not your audience isn't all local.
They're everywhere. Yeah.
So, but that is, well, I
So
can
what
tell you
book are
that,
you, what are
yeah,
you
I'll tell you the
reading
book
right?
that we're
I was like,
reading.
what are you
whether you're-
reading right now?
Whether
I
you're
mean,
in the book club or not. It's called The Gifts of Our Compulsions by
Mm.
Mary O'Malley.
Mhm.
And it is such a positive perspective on compulsions, or whatever you want to call them. Just like our body is here to tell us something, our compulsions are here to help us learn
Mhm.
something,
Mhm.
and paying attention to them rather than trying to get rid of them and fight with them, and really seeing them as our friends
Mhm.
is kind of the perspective of the book. And there's lots of great tools in it too, but it's really about being very present with what's going on when you're having these compulsions, whether it's overeating or anything else. I mean, it's true for any kind of habit that we think is a problem, right? So it gets real deep into all of that stuff.
That's
So
cool.
that is cool.
Yeah. I
And
love
then the name of the book and the author one more time.
it. The Gift of Our Compulsions by Mary O'Malley.
Ooh,
That's
I'm gonna have to go
awesome.
look
Yeah.
that one up.
Yes.
Add it
Yeah.
to my
Add it to
Audible
the
list.
Audible list.
It's an oldie but goodie.
Good. Some of those older books like that are some of the best because
Mhm.
the clarity of the way they speak it's much more clear than some of the newer fangled ones, which either talk in circles or
Loop your
loop around.
the
can be hard.
art of writing really
it's
comes
different.
out in an older book, right?
Yeah.
There was
it's pretty
really a
cool.
structure to how you're supposed to present, work through things.
Uh-huh.
And now people just do things however they want.
Right.
I never do that. What are you talking about?
Right. So again, Joanne, thank you so much for sharing your gifts with us today and with our audience. We appreciate you so much, and we're looking forward to connecting with you some more.
We're going to drop your links below, but why don't you go ahead and let us know, where can people find you?
The best way is through my website, and it's my name, joanneedinberg.com. So 2 N's and 2 E's. And yeah, everything's on there. You can set up a free consultation with me to find out more. And there's links to my podcasts on there, the ones that I've done, and I'll have you guys on there as well soon.
Yay!
So
So you can hear her talk and get to know more about her heart and soul before you connect with her, or you can dive right in and get a consultation for free. I love that. All in the same spot.
All in the same spot. So excited to have you at the table today. And thank you all for joining us today. It's been a pleasure. As always, we couldn't do it without you, and we love you. Namaste.
Mwah.
So we are Sue and Greta, or our trail names are Lilo and Stitch, and we are hiking the whole Appalachian Trail from Maine to Georgia, so 2,194.3 miles. And we're doing it to raise $50,000 or more.
Yes.
For Parkinson's disease research.
Yeah, through the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And we are doing it all in honor of my dad, her husband, who was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease back in 2010. So and we all know so many people who are diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and we are trying to do our small part in the world of Parkinson's disease to find a cure.
Thank you for joining us today on the Women in Leadership Body, Soul, Mind, and Business podcast. Please download the podcast on your favorite podcast player. We love you, and we will see you next time. Namaste.